Now, because I got the collector's edition or whatever of the expansion, I got the art book, and I did see this image in there. So they have different images of the crystal, and one of them shows the crystal in Hallowfall with an opening in it. And I was like, oh, I thought it was very interesting. It looks like so did Doran, the Teller of Truths. We're going inside Beledar, upcoming raid in the world with the War Within. I didn't actually think about that. Could it be a raid? I do think eventually we are going to go inside the crystal. We're going to find out what's in there, what's transitioning, probably a Naru. But could it be a raid or something else? Let's see what Doran has to say.
We've been speculating what this crystal is for nearly a year at this point. We have seen it in person, but a senior artist from Blizzard just dropped some behind the scenes artwork that are without a doubt a big reveal of what is going to happen soon. Early artwork looks so much like a Naru or a Naru ship, but then we have these weird shapes and forms that really makes it like something from Draenor, and there is even a gravitational pull that the crystal has, creating clouds around it.
Right.
However, the most interesting art bit is this mysterious little shot of giant stairs.
Yeah, this is cool. Like giant stairs leading into the crystal. Definitely something that could still happen. I could imagine this happening at some point. And the gravitational pull he talks about is noted in the art book as well, which is kind of cool because that's why the clouds are there and the lore exists.
Leading directly
In the
from
art
the
book.
Arati church into the crystal itself, meaning something big is going to happen here, very likely around this Arati window. So I would say these are random concepts, but artists don't just draw randomly, they get directions from the lore team, and they must already know something we are about to learn. So literally, what even is this crystal? With the War Within out, the best way to optimize your game is with the TradeSkillMaster add-on. It's for everyone, whether you just want to make gold or you're flipping millions. It can help you manage your auctions, post items in bulk, find the best deals. It can help your professions by helping you see what's the most profitable thing to craft. Best of all, TSM now has a new premium package that can put you on a whole nother level with a vast database that will help you make informed decisions on what to buy and when to sell. So make sure to click the link in the description and get 15% off your first purchase of premium TSM package.
What is it called? Profession Andy's Rejoice. There you go.
We've been going back and forth on this gigantic crystal, as it is really the most mysterious thing so far in World of Warcraft. We've never had this large object that is like a focal point of the entire expansion, probably large part of the next two, but we had no idea what it actually was. Initially, when it was announced on BlizzCon, it started as people thinking this is the tip of the Sword of Samiccus, but this not only made zero sense because the sword is in Silitur, so quite a bit away, but literally the next day after BlizzCon, Blizzard confirmed that this is not the case. Now, over the next few months, we learned that it is in fact called Beledar, and that it is the so-called Emperor's Vision of the light-based Emperor from the other side of Azeroth. This suspiciously enough got
And one thing that we've learned about it since is like, some people are saying like it's part of the origins of life on the planet and things like that. Some interesting theories. But one thing for sure is that, okay, it comes from the light, and it almost acts in the same way that the old gods act for the void, and that it looks like the light kind of spits these crystals out or whatever, and they just lodge themselves in whatever they land in. Whether they do land in something or not is, TBD. But when it does affect the planet or infect the planet maybe with light, much the same way the old gods do, where the void spits them out, and we know this about the void, and those old gods just fly out into the cosmos. And if they land on something, great. If they don't, they just continually fly out forever. So when they do land on something, they start to what? They start to corrupt it. That's what the void, the old gods did here on Azeroth. So it could be very much the old god version of the light. Basically, that's what this crystal seems like it could be.
Azeroth is suspiciously enough got a vision around the same time as Velen, and it might be related to Zera and her vision for Illidan as well. Now, interesting enough, these Arati guys are actually half Arati
4 or
humans,
5 times
half Quel'Thalas High Elves, so we connected the word Belore to Beledar. Belore means the sun in the High Elven language, as you might have already heard, Anu Belore de Lana, which means the eternal sun guides us. Interesting enough, the giant crystal literally functions as a giant giant sun inside the zone, so it made total sense they would call it Belore. However, they didn't name it Belore, they named it Beledar. This, oddly enough, sounds exactly like a Naru ship. Beledar, Zenedar, Genedar, Exodar. Now, before people say there are a lot of other places on Azeroth, like Durotar, Nazir.
I definitely follow this theory. It's got to be either a Naru ship. You got to remember, too, when you look at Naru ships, a lot of times they look like a crystal, like the one that's hanging in the ceiling, but they've got the mechanics around it, right? Like they add mechanical stuff around it to help it fly, I guess. So that's, I think, certainly true. I use CurseForge, by the way, Nith. And to me, that's what this probably is. Either that, or whenever the Naru have found these crystals, they've turned them into ships. Maybe it wasn't originally one, and it's going to be one.
People say there are a lot of other places on Azeroth, like Durotar, Naziatar. Here, we are talking about Dar, which really does sound like a mix of a Naru ship and the word Belore. But why would a Naru ship have an elven name is really a good question. Well, we don't really know. It's possible they learned the true Dar name and just added the Belore to it, so it's like a weird mix at this point in time. So this naturally started a big speculation that this is indeed a giant Naru ship lodged into the very...
Yeah, you see, like, when you look at the Naru ships in general, or the Exodar even, they very much look like a crystal, and then all of this Naru technology is added on top of it, right? Like, this is all additional mechanical, whatever this is, added on top of the crystal. So that's why, yeah, this could, maybe it gets turned into a ship. We go to another expansion with, who knows?
Naru ship lodged into the very crust of Azeroth. However, then we got the collector's edition book and we got a full view of the crystal, and we could see the upper portion as well, and it just seemed like an almost identical crystal piercing, like with the same shapes, with no doors or Naru machinery. So that made it very likely that this isn't in fact a Naru ship, it must be something else. Now, until this artwork we just learned about, I proposed two highly likely theories. Either this is in fact a Naru ship, but the machinery part was ejected, so just the crystal part remained. If you look at all the Naru ships we could previously see in the Naru fortresses, it's essentially just a bunch of machinery around a massive crystal. So it's possible the light invaded in ancient history, or this was a probe mission and the rescue team just took the machinery and left the crystal. The other possibility is that this is one of the primordial crystals, and here we are referencing Chronicle Volume 1. The reason I say this is because the book...
use another death
knight. Thank you for the sub. 2 months now. Oh my god, thank you, man. I appreciate that. One of the theories out there right now is you see the sky right now in front of us. Now, we know in our world, yes, skies are, as Pumbaa said, burning balls of hot gas, you know, burning millions of miles away. Well, billions maybe miles away. The stars in World of Warcraft, some people say, are actually these crystals. Just millions of them out there in the void, right, floating around, and that's what stars are in WoW. And then when one of these stars falls to a planet, it lodges itself in it and starts to change it. Now, the reason why people are saying that is because the Emperor, the Light Emperor's vision, is described as that of a falling star. So people started to say, well, what if all of these are stars? You know, what if all these crystals are the stars in WoW? And yeah, I think that could be the case.
Told us when the universe was born in an explosion, shards of light were flung across the universe, they stabbed planets, and through it, seeded life. Some seeded life in the world souls, other shards formed into the Naru, these giant light beings. Now, naturally, this would totally make sense because the crystal is very much like a Naru, but it's not quite a Naru as far as we can see. Thematically, it would also make a ton of sense as through the entire World Soul Saga, we're exploring what is really going on in the universe, how it was really created, big conspiracy theories, so it would make sense to find one of these primordial crystals. However, some of the artists from Blizzard just released some behind-the-scenes artwork, and I feel like this really challenges everything we previously believed. Now, some parts are exactly the same, others are early concepts like work in progress of how they wanted to make this crystal that didn't end up making the cut. Now, you could say that these are just ideas they threw at the whiteboard, but you gotta keep in mind this crystal is a huge part of the story. It's very likely a key part of the entire World Soul Saga, not just the War Within. So they probably figured out the story first ages ago. The idea was to just get the visual.
As he smartly said early in the video, the crystal is, you know, and the direction that the art team takes is via direction from the lore team. They don't start drawing random shit and then build an expansion around it. They build out the story of the expansion first, and then the art team goes and does their thing. So any of the versions of the crystal that we see, even the ones that never came to fruition, were based on the lore of the game. So that's why it's still important to look at these.
On what the crystal is actually going to look like. So I think these drawings weren't just random artists' thought, but they were working on what they were given from the story team. So the first artwork is a bit more visual. It's actually colored. It says early exploration. It leads us into the final design. However,
I still like the theory that the crystals floating among the stars are the remnants of Titans. Oh wow, I haven't heard that one. They're like pieces of Titans, but aren't Titans made of arcane? So I guess they would be like arcane crystals or something. That's an interesting theory. I hadn't heard that one.
you gotta see some of the early A, B, C, and D concepts, and you gotta admit that these are way more Naru-like than the final product that we can actually see in the game. A looks incredibly similar to the giant Naru ship from Draenor with a ring around it itself, and it just gives very strong Naru vibes. Now, B is incredibly similar to what we have right now, but C and D are also giving really strong Naru vibes, especially C. I mean, it even looks like a Naru with all the shapes and symbols. Then below that you got the numbers. Then the first three are the scrapped ideas, but these look incredibly similar to the light ship we used to invade Argus back in Legion, way more similar than the final product, and as you may know, that ship is literally a light Naru ship. However, the really interesting part is the second image.
Right, I mean literally, wow, damn, looking at this image right now, I didn't even realize how similar. This literally looks like the crystal flipped upside down, doesn't it? Look at how well you could see the crystal, right? Everything around it was built by the Naru, but the crystal itself, doesn't this look like the part that's in Hallowfall right now? Doesn't this look like the part that's hanging from the bottom, and then you got the upper part of the crystal? It literally looks just like it. Which is why I think, like, yeah, this thing could be turned into, like, some massive Naru ship, for sure. Looks like a shiny butt plug. Oh, that's also true.
The really interesting part is the second image.
I don't know what that has to do with the lore
artwork bits, which I feel like might be a huge spoiler for what is going to happen. And these are not just design ideas, but these are literally completely different properties of the crystal itself than we can currently see in the game. So here they are showing the crystal as this weird energy that has a gravitational pull, pulling the earth and the water from the ceiling and transforming into clouds. This could be a random idea from the artist, but why would the crystal do that? Were they given some bit of story information that we don't know yet, or something that is about to happen? Furthermore, we got some concepts for the void mode of the crystal as well as the light mode, and not only does it look like a Naru in terms of shapes, but I don't know about you, but to me, the void version in particular looks so much like something from Warlords of Draenor involving Ner'zhul and all those void circles that we had previously seen. There is also the light mode that has a huge Naru light void base that is much bigger than the crystal, that once again gives this exact same vibe. Like the base really looks like something engineered, not just the piercing bait that we can currently see in the game. However, the main reason why I'm even making this video in the first place is something that we had never actually seen before, and that is a giant Arati church and crystal-like stairs leading directly
this is a cool image.
into the crystal itself, into Beledar, with this door on it. So I don't even know where to start. First of all, when we look at the Priory of the Sacred Flame and where we had that Zelda cinematic, you can see there is in fact a giant window or door looking directly into the crystal without glass, meaning something is very likely going to happen here, probably with these stairs. However, as I had already stated, these artists are not making these things up out of nowhere. They're usually given direction from the lore team on what concepts to come up with. They wouldn't create a door and a stairway into the crystal unless that is supposed to happen.
There is absolutely no reason for an art, unless he's fucking tripping on acid, to decide to go this far and create a staircase from the Priory Church up to the crystal. Right, there was a reason for this. They did talk about, for sure, the lore team talked about eventually going in the crystal, opening a door of some sort, and this artist decided to render it out. Now, you can even look here. Look how blazing the light is from the ceiling. Like right now, the crystal doesn't have any beams of light coming down from the ceiling like that. We can look right here. I mean, I have it literally up on my thing here. Look at that. I mean, it's very obvious that there are no beams. There's cracks, but no beams of light. So this version of it looks like some kind of empowered, like it's gone fully, insane mode. And now there's beams of light coming through the cracks themselves in the ceiling. So this looks like something happens. and it opens up the crystal and we go inside.
That is supposed to
Some
happen
event
at some
kicks
point
us
in
off.
time, which is why I feel like this is a huge spoiler that Blizzard released themselves kind of unknowingly. Now, what
Fully
makes
erect,
this
yes.
even more interesting is that from the game itself, we recently learned that when Sargeras stabbed Silitus, very likely stabbing Khatun in the process, he dislodged something and made the Old God Blood active. Now, Old God Blood has been around the foundation of Azeroth since forever, as far as we learned, and from all the battles, but in Legion, something moved that made this blood a lot more potent. It kinda activated it. We also learned that this is exactly when the crystal first transformed from the light into the void, according to the Arati, that it now seems to constantly do that cycle, light-void cycle. So naturally that leads us into thinking that the black blood of the old gods might have something to do with the crystal transforming into the void.
Yeah,
and
it
it
could be.
makes sense because Xal'atath is obviously using the old god blood. She's here because of the old god blood. However, this new door makes this even crazier. Like, could the crystal itself be rotten or corrupted in the center, and now we're going to actually have to go inside and fix it? Like this big, giant, shiny light Naru thing, and then inside it's just old god blood and void craziness corrupting it from within. It actually makes sense. I feel like
Maybe.
that might be why they drew the door and why we might have to go inside. Of course, we can't know anything for sure yet, but there must be a reason why the artist decided to create this door in the church stairway.
Yeah, I
Something
agree.
is definitely going to happen, and us going inside the crystal could be a future raid or some big part of the future content. However, it just makes it even more confusing as to what exactly this crystal is. Now, with the door, it makes the most amount of sense that this is in fact something Naru related, but what exactly are we going to find inside? I feel like that is going to be a
As,
big part
you know,
of
as
the
described-
Origins future.
The way it's described as like a falling star and everything else, I certainly think that these crystals are like some kind of vessel or ship that transports something for the light, right? So it certainly is going to act like a ship, and yes, as a ship, it could have a door. I don't see why not.
For watching, check out my video on were the Titans originally immortal by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on the god Perun and Slavic mythology by clicking on the screen
Great
as
video.
well. See you next time.
Yeah, this was a great video. You know, it's not as crazy speculative as it may come off as, because, like I said, the art team doesn't just create shit for no reason. They're taking direction from something, and their direction's coming from the lore team. So somebody in the lore team told them, yeah, eventually we're going to go in the crystal. There's going to be some door, maybe a raid in there or something. We need some art to be rendered for what that would look like. And that art with the staircase going up right here, this is the art that they came up with, and it's honestly really cool. I think that if this happened, I'd be excited to go in there and see what's up. Definitely, it could be a cool concept and a good video from Doran.